Hello and welcome to Epi-Center. My name is Camilla Foy, and today I got to talk to Mrs. Tiffany Kairos, the founder of the Epilepsy Network and her blog, Rise Above Epilepsy. Today she told me about her story and what it is to be an epilepsy advocate. I hope you enjoy listening to her just as much as I have enjoyed talking to her. Now, let's get into the episode.
It's so nice to have you or be here and to see you.
Yes, so it's very nice to meet you. So, could you please take us through your epilepsy story?
Absolutely. I was diagnosed, let me go back here. I had my first seizure when I was 16, and it was a tonic-clonic seizure. I happened to be sleeping in bed, um, and I was more concerned at that time about a history test the next day, but all of a sudden I was being carried down the stairs by two paramedics on a gurney, and I was really concerned about what had happened because apparently, something really serious had happened, and I was really dazed and confused. And they loaded me up into the ambulance and took me to the hospital where doctors let me know that I had had a seizure. I was really confused because I didn't even know what a seizure was. So I was placed on medication for about 6 months. And in that time span, I didn't have another seizure. So they took me off medicine, and I didn't have another seizure until 2018, or yes, 2008. And I was 22 years old, and I was a newlywed. And my husband and I had only been married for about 4 months. And I was driving to the store. It was about 9 in the morning, and I felt perfectly fine. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. I didn't feel weird, or there was no indication that a seizure was about to happen. But um, as I was driving, all of a sudden, my muscles weakened and my vision just started to, fade into darkness. And I had a split second of time to just turn the wheel away from traffic. And I went through two front yards and over, you know, uh, a little bit of a lip there, and crashed through a fence and into a tree. And that was, really scary for me once again because when I woke up, I happened to be on a gurney again with paramedics loading me into an ambulance. And, uh, you know, it had been a few years, that I had had a seizure. So again, I was confused about what happened. And doctors took me to the hospital, ran a bunch of tests, and they told me that I had had a seizure. And that made my stomach drop because I had a flashback of when I was 16. And I was like, dear goodness, it happened again. And so after the test had been run, um, a few days later, I met with the doctor, and they sat me down and told me that I had epilepsy. And I was so confused and scared because I had never heard that word before. I didn't know what that meant. Um, and he explained to me what that meant. He explained to me, in, just he gave me very little information to go on. Gave me a small pamphlet
Oh,
to
no.
really, yeah, a very thin pamphlet to understand what I needed to do, what I shouldn't do, and, sent me on my way. gave me medication, sent me on my way, and I was really scared because I knew that my life was about to change forever at that point. So I had just been diagnosed with an illness that I was going to have to battle for I didn't know how long at that point.
And at when you had your first seizure at 16, did they ever consider that you might have had epilepsy at all?
No, they thought it was a one-time occurrence.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, they ran a bunch of tests. They didn't know why I had that seizure. They just knew, okay, let's put her on some medicine, see if we can't just make sure we can just make sure that this won't happen again. And it didn't.
Yeah, and then so you went to the doctor, and what was the diagnosis process? Like, what kind of tests did you have to do to get to the conclusion that you had epilepsy?
They did CAT scans, they did MRIs, they did the EEGs, and it is really, indicated that I indeed had seizure activity going on in my brain. So, and then they coupled that with the seizure that I had when I was 16. And obviously, after having two seizures, you are diagnosed at that point with epilepsy.
Hmm. And what type of seizures do you have?
I have tonic-clonic seizures and complex partial seizures.
What are complex partial seizures? I've never heard of them before.
Well, seizures are different for everybody. Um, for me, what happens is I will lose my vision for about a couple of seconds and my head will turn to the side. I'm still able to speak sometimes, and sometimes I can't, but I'm just really foggy for about maybe 5 to 10 seconds. But usually, I mean, I can walk around and do things, that but I'm usually disoriented and I usually wait until that passes. But my brain is kind of all foggy and, it's best just to kind of sit still and let it pass. But yeah, it's a mini seizure.
And can you take medications? Does medication help at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. Again, everybody's different with their seizures and how they manage them. I'm on 4 different medications, plus I have an emergency medication should anything happen.
And so you mentioned that you were a newlywed at the time you
Mhm.
first had, well, when you had your second seizure. How was that experience as a newlywed with a life-changing diagnosis?
Oh, good gracious. That was so tough because I mean, we had just started our marriage. We just started our life as husband and wife and I was devastated because I had to leave my job. And my husband, he had to really figure out how is he going to work plus, take care of me at the same time because it's tough when you can't do a lot of things on your own and you need help from another person. And so he had to really balance working plus, making sure that I was safe at home. And it really became tough for him to work. So he had to leave his job too to, make sure that I was okay and safe, plus make sure that I got to my, doctor's appointments on time and, to my tests on time. And, it was so tough because I, personally felt guilty and I felt like a burden. And I'm sure a lot of people understand that, they feel that guilt and they feel that burden feeling. And there was a point at that time where I told my husband, I said, I wouldn't blame you if you left. I said, I don't want to, make this hard for you. And my husband, he laughed and he said, I'm not going anywhere. we're in this together. We're gonna do this together. It's we're gonna face this challenge head on. And that was emotionally, hmm, there's really no words, but I was just so happy and I felt so blessed to have, a life partner that was willing to stand by me through this.
And I understand that he helped um, co-found the Epilepsy Network.
Yes, yes, that was amazing. The Epilepsy Network kind of began to really come alive in 2011. Uh, he's a graphic designer.
Oh,
So,
really?
yes, he is. Yeah. So he does mainly the back end work. I do a lot of, the social media aspect of it. Um, and, we just came together, put our heads together. And I really wanted to help, others, patients and caregivers and the public better understand the condition and to not feel so alone, like I felt alone at first and in the beginning. And I wanted to give back what I received because in the beginning, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know anybody else that had epilepsy or had had a seizure. So what helped me was to go, into support groups online, and I was met with so much support and care and compassion. And I saw so much of the same thing being given, left and right in support groups. And that inspired me. That was so, inspiring. And that really was what made me want to become an advocate. And so I thought to myself, and I told my husband, I said, I'd like to, yeah, I'd like to do that. I'd like to create, an online community.
And what was your process in creating all this? Because I know you have the Epilepsy Network, you have your blog, Rise Above Epilepsy, which both are amazing, by the way. I saw them
Thank
and I was like, oh
you.
my gosh, this is so cool.
Thank you. But it started with a Facebook page. Um, and it just was a matter of creating educational images, helping people to understand what epilepsy is, what seizures are, and just anything and everything there is to know. So the public can better understand, so that, stigmas could be broken, and people can be less afraid of the condition, and people with epilepsy can find their voice and not be so afraid to talk about it. I know that I was very frightened and nervous to, talk about my story and my condition because I didn't want people to look at me differently or treat me differently. And I know that there are other people out there that felt the same way, and I wanted to help them find that confidence.
It's a very good vision. I feel that talking about it is the most important thing. That's a common reoccurring theme I see a lot is we need to talk about epilepsy. We need to be able to spread the word. And the only way we can do that is if we can help others become empowered and use their voices to let everyone know about as much as they can about epilepsy. And
Mm.
kind of like the thought process you were saying about, oh, well, how can you let everyone know about this? That was kind of what I was thinking as starting this podcast. I was like, how can I help out now
Mm.
in a way that's effective? And I was
Mm.
like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I could
That's
try.
that's how I felt. Is I was thinking, like, I have no idea how I'm gonna do this. I've never done this before. And one aspect of starting out my advocacy process was is I started off with index cards and a little camera, and I told my story with index cards and put it on YouTube.
Oh,
And I was just amazed at the reaction, the response that I got. And I was like, wow, okay, all right, let's keep this ball rolling. you got to start somewhere. You just got to do it.
Yeah. And I feel like sharing your story is the first and most important part, and being able to just let everyone know that, you can do something about epilepsy. You can let everyone know about it.
Mm.
You can educate everyone, and you can really make a difference. Like, I've seen you've made so much of a difference already with everything that you write in your blog. I've read a lot of your articles and I'm like, oh wow, I just learned a whole bunch of new stuff that I did not know yesterday.
I'm so glad you like it.
And something that I wanted to talk about is I saw that you want, I'm not sure how you say it, but it's like, is WEGO awards, or do you say like WEGO awards? I have no clue.
Oh yeah, it used to be called the WeGo Health Awards.
Hmm.
They've since changed it to the Social Health Awards, but yeah, they used to call it WeGo Health Awards.
Hmm.
But yeah, in 2016, I won the WeGo Health Awards for Best in Show Twitter. And that was amazing to me because I don't win a lot of I don't win awards. That was so powerful for me because I just really I put a lot of into what I do because I want to help people. Everything I do is not for self-gain. I do things for others. So to win an award was very powerful, and I really was grateful and I felt blessed.
You're saying so you got it for your Twitter page. Do you kind of diversify what you put on each of your pages?
Yeah, I try as much as I can because I'm only one person. I try and touch on different social media platforms. But yeah, I try and do what I can as a, single uh individual.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely maintaining all these platforms. It can be so confusing. It's like I'm always on my Instagram, and then I'm like, oh wait, I have my Twitter account I need to be able to focus on too.
I know. And what helps too a lot is to schedule your posts. That makes a world of difference.
Yeah, that's what I started doing on my Instagram. I'm like, oh wait, I can schedule posts.
I know. I know. I was like, oh, that really, really helps.
Yes. And so, one of my last questions I have for you is, do you have any tips for any newly diagnosed people with epilepsy, on how to identify the right doctor, or even dealing with mental health and social interactions after their diagnosis?
Oh yeah, definitely. As I did, I really talked with people in online support groups who really have more, had more experience than I did. Patients, caregivers, they had a lot of information about resources that I could tap into that helped me to find what I needed, doctors that I could talk to, speak with, and reputable websites that I could uh, look at and gain information from.
Do you have any websites, like from the top of your head, that you can share?
Sure, there's the website that I had created, the epilepsynetwork.com. There's also Healthline. And there's also all kinds of different websites. I think Healthline is probably your best bet. I would definitely go with that one. I've always enjoyed that one, and healthcentral.com is probably the second after that.
Okay. And do you have any tips? Like, I know that you said that, oh, you had to find the right doctor in order to be able to learn more about epilepsy. So do you have any tips on finding the right doctor? Because I know it's a recurring theme whenever I talk to anyone with epilepsy. They're like, I bounced from doctor to doctor until I could finally find the right
Yes.
one.
Yes, I had to go from a couple doctors until I found the right one. And really, again, speak with a couple of individuals in support groups, get their opinions, ask them what, they think is best as far as what to find in a good doctor. Plus also, you want to find ones that actually have a good experience with other patients. I honestly, you want to make sure that they have just a good rapport with other patients. And if they don't, then I don't know if they're the right doctor for you, honestly.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all that you have said today. I really
Oh,
enjoyed
thank you.
talking with you.
Oh, I've enjoyed talking with you too.
Yes, I feel like and now I'm speaking to the viewers. Please check out the Epilepsy Network and Rise Above Epilepsy because they are really good websites. Like I'm been learning so much. I've been reading some of your articles and I'm like, okay, now I have some ideas for episodes in the future of what I can talk about now because there's so much I'm still learning on epilepsy. There's so much that I need to research and find out about so that I can be able to better educate others as well.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so great.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.